Welcome to Schwab Network's Market Overtime. I'm Diane King Hall. Our guest today knows what it takes to lead, whether it's on or off the field, protecting the league MVP quarterback or making smart financial moves. He's a four-time Pro Bowler, a key force on the Buffalo Bills offensive line. He's also making plays in the financial world. Dion Dawkins, a.k.a. Schno. Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
that's right. I
or
love
welcome
it.
to the show.
There we go. I heard, and actually, so I want to get into where your nickname came from, but I heard there was this viral moment during one of your games where you were mic'd and they caught you singing Schno.
Yeah, I'm always doing something. Literally, I'm always doing something. I think one of those moments is like you're talking about. I took a fan's goggles. It was snowing outside. I took a fan's ski goggles and I put them over my helmet, and I was walking around the sideline with the goggles on. Then I made goggles and sold goggles, and people love them.
Oh, I love it.
So it was super cool.
And sold goggles, so that gets into your financial savvy.
Yeah.
And so I want to dive deep into that because I hear you do a lot in Buffalo and beyond. Let's talk a little bit about your nickname, where it came from, and how it's evolved.
Yeah, so Schno, I'm from Jersey. So with me being from Jersey, you know, I go through all four seasons: summer, winter, fall, and spring. I would wait for the winter months when I was a kid. We didn't have cell phones, so I was on the landline. Like, we still would wait for the landline phone, and I would wait for the rumor of a snow day. And if the phone rang, I knew it was grandma or whoever, but it could have been the school calling to say that it was canceled. And if the school day was canceled that following day, I knew it was a lot of snow coming.
Okay.
I would set my alarm early. I would wake up and I would knock on doors and ask people if they wanted their driveway, their walkway, and even their car started if they had to go to work. And that's how I became the Shnowman, because who's outside all day? Shnowman. And the snow day. And then, you know, I kind of became that, so I became Big Schno.
Would you credit that for, you know, kind of your early interest in entrepreneurialism?
I would say yes. It started then. I was young, and then when I got to high school, I just figured out ways to, you know, help it. Like, I took a graphic arts class. I started off making business cards for the shoveling, and then I went from shoveling snow to raking leaves and even walking dogs. Like, I had it, but people would only call me for shoveling snow. And it just kind of grew, and then it was like, yo, like, people in the world, like, they figure out things and then they do what's closest, like, to their heart, and they just lead with that. And that's kind of how that started.
What were some early financial lessons that you learned, you know, operating as a businessman, as a young man?
Yeah, well, learning wins and losses of the game. Understanding that everything is not a win, everything is not a loss, everything could be a neutral and still become a win. And knowing that, you know, you have to fail a little bit to be able to be confident in the financial game, because it's not a game, but like, you have to, you know, research, you have to do what you do, and you have to put your heart really behind what you're doing so people can feel it. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
No, you make a great point about research, because there's this kid I've been following on social media recently, a teenager, 14-year-old, who his goal was to make $1,000 in 30 days detailing cars.
Nice.
He was incredibly skilled,
Nice.
but he was clearly underpricing himself. And so you had mixed reactions, because a couple of his reels went viral with people saying there are some people taking advantage of this because they should be paying more than $20 for a detail. I don't remember if it was exactly 20, but it was something low, lower than you would pay.
Robbed at $20
yes.
for sure.
And then some people made the point that, well, he's building his reputation, so people don't yet know his reputation. So can you relate to some of those early lessons where you may have been underpricing yourself?
Yes. Well, that's more so not knowing the value of yourself yet. But I do think that there is an area where you should understand risk, reward, or more so like exposure, reward, or exposure and take a little loss. Because I think realistically, for a kid, I think he's energized. He has the energy to do it. You can do it, and you're touching a lot more people with, you know, putting the price a little lower just to get in a lot of doors. And I'm not opposed of it, but just understanding, and for a kid, I think he should know how long to do that and when to cut it off.
That's a good point, because to your point about exposure, charging that rate probably got more interest when you see this on social media. It
Right.
creates this, I don't think that was his plan,
Right.
but it ultimately ended up happening that way. People noticing, commenting, getting more clicks because we live in this world and day and age where
Click.
everything is about, clicks.
And a view. Click and a
Yes,
view.
yes. So
For sure.
to your point about exposure, that seems to matter. And he reached his goal in 8 days instead of 30 days.
Beautiful.
So
it's
that
a
was
win.
a nice win.
I say
Yes.
that's a win.
Yes.
Right? That's a
Yes.
win. You had 8 days instead of 31 or 30 days of work. Come on. It's a win.
Yes, and so he plans to keep going. But let's talk a little bit about your growth as a businessman.
Yeah.
Look, you're managing a bigger salary now than when you started as a young man, just
sure.
an entrepreneur, shoveling snow, etc. What have you learned now along the way, and how do you approach business opportunities now?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say more so with being an athlete, right? With being an athlete, I've learned, right? And I've learned from a lot of people's mistakes, and I've learned from a lot of other players that, like, for example, if a guy lives in Florida and he plays in New York City, he'll try to run to Florida and do business in Florida. When realistically, the people that truly love you the most is where you play ball at, right? And I've learned that the people that where you bring the most joy to, they love and they rally around you. So me, I said, let's see who really cares about Dion the most in my community. Like, I'm always in the community giving back. I do so much for the community, for youth, for children, for adults, for people that are incarcerated, for people like that are sick, for kids that don't have internet, like all type of stuff. And then to see how the people that can rally around you, of the businessmen of the community, and that's kind of where I, leaned my shoulder towards and seen who, kind of brushed back. And Nick was one of those guys, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Okay, and so you said Nick was one of those guys, and I hear that you are heavily involved and you like cars.
Love cars.
You do some work with a car dealership.
Yeah.
So is that one of your passions?
Yeah.
Investing in that space.
Well, it's not a dealership. Well, there is a dealership. Yeah, there's West Her, but I also have a motorsport team and myself.
Okay.
That is my entertainment. That's my fun. That's my little niche. Like, I have drift cars. I drift cars and we spin tires, and that's what I do to, as like a.
I don't even know what
as
that
like a
means.
rehab.
What does drift cars mean?
So have you ever seen Tokyo Drift, like
Okay.
Fast and Furious, like
Yes,
Tokyo Drift?
yes.
So like basically you just go sideways in cars. That circles.
Okay.
Just go in circles. Like, it's kind of like a not a dog chasing his tail, but like you're just.
It feels like grown up
like
bumper
you're just
cars, but
more so that
Okay.
more so that, right? And I can't fit on roller coasters, so this is my roller coaster. I can be on the ground on a roller coaster safe. There's a roll cage helmet, fire extinguisher team. It's safe. So I have a motorsport team, and that's kind of like what I do. But yes, the cars I do find a love to, and also real estate.
Okay, I want to dive a little bit more into real estate, but I also want to the point about
I will
roller
show you.
coasters. Roller coasters are, to me, not
Terrifying.
fun. Yeah, exactly,
Terrifying.
exactly. I'm not a fan either, so I'm with you on that way.
Terrifying.
So
Stay
forget
on the
about
ground.
even.
Just stay on
Yes,
the ground.
that's right.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about real estate and
Yes.
what you're doing in that space.
Yeah.
I believe you're doing some work in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate had been challenged since the pandemic. So what are you doing there? Tell me about your work there.
Yeah, so me and Nick, we are doing an opportunity zone where more so like we have taken 3 buildings in downtown Buffalo, and Nick has already been ahead of the game with the word is refurbishing them or making them
Yep.
livable for the next, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're taking an old building or old giant unit, which is downtown, and we're reforming it into apartments, and we're using the opportunity zone to do it, and we're keeping some of the historic land points in there to keep that historic view of the location, and we're doing that with 3 buildings. And really, why it's like Buffalo has given so much to me. I want to give my heart and my soul, and honestly, my money back to Buffalo, right? Like, I live there. My kids are from Buffalo. They've been born there. I'm a Buffalo guy, and Buffalo has done nothing but respected me and grabbed me with open arms. And with something like this, I just think it's cool because you put a building up, it has your energy, it has like a little bit of you in there, and people can enjoy it. And then they get to, communicate and talk to us and learn. And then people now can even learn from what I'm doing and what Nick is teaching, as well as what we're teaching each other, and we can teach for the community so they can grow. And maybe one day, like some kid will walk past that building and be like, I want to own something like this. And one day, like how I said, I want to own something like this, and now we're doing it.
It sounds like community financial development work you all are doing, and I really like that, especially when you think about, one, who you can reach through that,
Right.
and then two, who you can teach through that as well.
Right.
And then, so I know you mentioned hoping that someone would see that, a young person would see that and say, I would like to do this one day. What about your background?
Yeah.
Makes you think that way? I don't know how you grew up. Did you
Well,
grow up tough? Did you grow
Yeah.
up with,
Well, I didn't grow up with a golden spoon.
Okay.
I didn't grow up with a diamond chain, right? I didn't grow up with any of that. Goals were to eventually get to that at some point, which is why I am who I am today. But I grew up right here in Rahway, right? We have a prison in our town. We have a train station. We have projects. We have all of that. And I grew up right in the middle. I was right 2 blocks away from the train station, right? So you hear the train every day. People are commuting to and from New York. My dad worked at Anheuser-Busch. My mom was she put bags on a plane for United, which was at one point it was American Airlines. And that was my life. Like I wasn't down bad, but it was like I had to work. I had to work. Like my parents were working parents. Like my dad would work all day, all night, right? Barely seen him. I respected. He did what he had to do for his family, and I seen that. So I kind of, grew off of that. But yeah, like life is definitely different now.
Do you feel like that fueled what your work ethic is now?
100%. From being in Rahway, from being in Jersey, from seeing the people that attempted to be successful and kept attempting and attempting and attempting and not overly failing, but just not getting to where they wanted to be. I was like, cool, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna observe, I'm gonna see what to do, what not to do, and I'm gonna implement that into myself, and I'm gonna try and my best at this winning thing. And I said, look, football is a good way to, cheat it and get out quick. And now it's time to, keep it and be there and stay there instead of just getting it and losing it. Now you have to get there and keep it. And this is what, like this real estate lifestyle is. And
you make a great point. And not about cheating, it's like leaning into what your talents are
For
and
sure.
then utilizing that time period, because for any sport there's a certain time period
For sure.
where you have, because look, when we think about the average career of a professional athlete,
Right.
it's only so long. And then with football, I believe the average career is like 3 years or something like that. So you've outlasted the average already.
Shoot, a couple times, right? 3 and 3, that's like 9. Yeah, I did about 3 times.
Exactly. So when you think about then the lessons that you've learned, so it's not just about making the money, it's also about keeping and retaining it. How do you, plan for the future when you think about businesses?
Yeah.
I like that you're focused on community, but what do you think when there are, say companies that come to you about endorsements oh, we would like to do a brand deal with you? What makes you say yes, and what makes you say that's not it?
Well, if we're talking about brand deals, I only accept and grab brand deals that I'm truly a part of, right? Like I'm a Monster athlete, right? Like I'm the first active NFL player to be sponsored by Monster. I have my drift cars. I skateboard, I longboard, I scooter, I ride 4-wheelers, I ride dirt bikes. I like all the extreme sports, right? That's a part of me, so that's easy for me to connect with organically, right? Like the food. I'm rocking with STK and all that. Like I love steak. Like why not? That's easy, right? Like for example, like I won't, accept a golfing deal. I don't golf. Like that. Like that'll be really fake. Like then I'll have to answer questions like yo, so like what's a 9 club? And I'll be like, bro, I don't know. They're like, what? Like you don't know? What's a putter? Like a putter is a little thing at the end, right? Like the small. But I don't know. So I tend to let my heart lead, and then let the facts of what my life is really stamp it, because I could grab anything, but that's just not me.
So Monster, what was it about that
Yeah,
deal, especially when you said
Yeah.
you an active player.
Yeah. Well, just being able to be different and to balance the extreme sport world and to balance the football world and now combine both worlds. I thought it was pretty cool. I was blessed that they accept people being different, and I'm definitely different. And I enjoy being different. I enjoy being myself, and I enjoy people that are true to their true self and not being afraid of being their true self. Because a lot of people hide. A lot of like people hide on a daily basis. And for somebody like me, you can only inspire the youth and inspire the next generation when you're showing your true self and your true version of yourself. And for somebody and like me coming from Jersey, I just choose to show my true possible self. That's
I
Snow.
can see that. I like that.
You know?
I'm curious to know the way you approach investing.
Yeah.
Do you approach it similarly, or what's similar about how you approach it compared to how you prepare for, say, a game?
Yeah. Well, energy. I really live off of energy. If I walk in a room and let's say like there's some people that want to meet or talk about this, if the energy is off, it's off. Like it just doesn't work, right? Like we have to be able to be on the same altitude, the same mindset, the same energy, the same vibe. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then it goes through, all right, the second part of it is studying, right? Then you study the film, you study the research, you study what's happened in the past, you study the pros and the cons. You honestly study the cons more than the pros, and you figure out, well, this is where you messed up, this is where this happened, this is where this happened. And then you look at the wins, and then you start to dissect it, like, how long did it take for him to learn from this mistake or this mistake? And then that's when the deal and my financial decisions kind of happen, because gotta really like focus it like you're playing a game, because this is the game of life now.
No, you make a good point about studying the cons even more, for instance, because there's a phrase I've heard before, you have to pay attention to the downside because the upside takes care of itself.
Right.
Let's talk about the community piece more. You've been quoted saying you're addicted to seeing organic smiles. So tell me a little bit
Yes.
about the Sinatra project
Yeah.
and then how you're generating smiles to the city of Buffalo with regard to that.
Yeah, so the Sinatra Snow, it's both of us. It's the partnership. That's the opportunity zone I mentioned.
Okay.
And when it comes to the smiles, it's making the people from our home smile because we're doing it, right? Like if you had a big brother and your big brother came home and put up a treehouse in the backyard, and now the treehouse is available for everybody in the community, that's putting smiles on people's faces. We're taking our talents and we're not just running to South Beach. We're not just running to LA. We're not just going to all the overly super popular places. We're staying in Buffalo, and we're going to invest in Buffalo and make Buffalo as popular as the rest. Like we have the border that's right there. We got Niagara Falls. We have everything that's right there. And just understanding that when you invest in your own like backyard, it can still flourish as well as where the palm trees are every day.
I like that. And then, I mean, especially the point you made about the investments you're making in housing, because housing is a big issue in this country. There's just not enough housing, not enough inventory. So do you see yourself doing more on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I love the housing portion of it. I like people to have a place to live and people to have a beautiful, comfortable, energized, with love foundation where they can grow and build their family and also build their mind. Like for somebody to be peaceful, for somebody to be somewhere where they know they're safe, for some people to just be at a place where it's just like, you know, this is home. And I feel like this was done right. I can live with somebody moving in and saying that. And I think I know with Nick, that's what we're doing because he's done it. He's been doing this way and before Dion.
Okay.
And now that, you know, I have a friend that introduced me to Nick, which is Tony. Now together we're just making more people smile, and we will be able to make more people happy when it's all done.
How do you protect yourself financially? Because I think about, statistics when it comes to NFL players, and you have great earning potential and great earnings initially. But then there is the risk, one, when you think about the career trajectory, is not as long as other careers. And I think back to that, I don't know if you ever saw that 30 for 30 Broke documentary. And so it shows that the difficulty some players face, many players face, it may be less now because I believe there's more training, teaching of financial literacy. How do you protect yourself?
Personally, me, I pray. I lead with my heart, even though heart can take you to different places, but I lead with it, and then when I get there, I dissect it. And I have a team of people.
Okay.
Like, I have a team of people that protects me as well. I have the NFL that I send everything over to the NFL with everything that, and I do. And I look at what they have done in their past. A lot of people, like how you mentioned the 30 and for 30, a lot of people are impulsive and they just jump. Like, oh, I have a best friend and my best friend has this great idea and I'm gonna invest $15 million and then it tanks. Like, no, I would rather go with the people that, have a rapport of winning Super Bowls, right?
So you analyze.
I analyze.
Do you budget?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course you budget. Of course.
Not everybody does.
Of course you budget.
Not everybody does. There is often the assumption, especially, and that's one of the, there is sometimes the thinking, well, I'm going to always have this, or
Never.
it's so large and vast that it's like, well, there's so much, I don't need to budget.
Nope. It's almost an example like a credit card, right? Like if you have a credit card and your max is 20,000, like 20,000, you don't spend 20,000 because you have that limit. You spend honestly like 25% of that 20,000, right? So you only spend that little bit instead of maxing it out. That's budget, and that's what I do with mine. I take my off the field earnings and a little bit of my on, and I do stuff like what we're doing now.
Okay. And do you take less risk with your on the field earnings versus your off the field earnings?
Well, I could
or
take
is it
bigger,
just kind of all,
it's a
together?
mesh, but I could take a bigger, like I can shoot at bigger stuff with the football because there's nothing that's gonna, like that football is top tier.
Got it.
But then I can do smaller tier stuff with the off the field, which is still great.
Okay. What's your hope for Buffalo? Because, before...
It's a win. I want to win. Let's win it all.
Because, we talked about that you live there. Like your kids were born there.
Yeah.
So you're obviously passionate about Buffalo, not just your team, but the city.
Yeah.
So what's your hope for Buffalo?
My hope for Buffalo is to continue to have people to invest in the home that has built us, right? Like I've become the best offensive lineman in the world from playing in Buffalo, right? Like you learn weird things like Rick James is from there. Like that's crazy to me. Like there's so many
I didn't
hidden
know Rick James
like,
was from there.
Like there's so many hidden gems, and I can go on. Like there's so many hidden gems that come from Buffalo because the people invested the energy of what Buffalo has to offer. And they grew and they grew and they grew, and then they flourished and they flourished, and then they just let the world feel how special and they are. Like, that's what Buffalo is. But I just hope, and my hope is that people will see and other people will join in to building it, because it's going to take a lot of people to jump in and help this thing flourish. But, you just have to just want to see it flourish, and it'll flourish. Almost like any other place in the world. You want to see Dubai get the way it is, people... All right, here, guy, we're all just going to do this together. You're going to put a hotel. We're going to put a hotel, and it's just going to be this. Miami, all right, we're going to take care of this one area called Wynwood, and we're going to make this great, Cool. Let's take this one area in Buffalo and make it great. So when people come to town, which they're going to come to town, this is something that they will see, and it's a part of their experience of coming in and out of Buffalo.
Do you hope to create jobs through all the work that you're doing?
It will create jobs, and that is one of the most important things, because it will take people from this to this. And I've learned that from my owner, Pagula. He said that that's one of the best.
Owner.
He said that that's one of the best things with everything that he does is creating jobs, right? And from what he's able to do, he's created so many little branches, right? Like he's created Dion, right? And now with Dion, I have all these branches that are part of me. Him and his daughter. He created the daughter. His daughter's a tennis player. She has branched off with all these little things. Josh, all this little thing, and all those branches are a part of him. And now him.
Well, I would argue he invested in you, not
but
created
but
you.
created.
Okay.
Created though. Like he was able to say we want Dion Dawkins. That's a creation.
Okay.
Like that's a investment, but it's a creation too though.
Okay.
Like he has to be able to, I mean, yeah, it's an investment, but I look at it as creation. Like without him, I'm not created like that.
Can I do a rapid fire round
Please,
with you?
let's do it.
Okay. We
A,
know
B,
Buffalo
C,
is
D, E,
home
F, G.
to wings, special wings.
Yeah.
So we'll start out with this as our rapid fire
Come
round.
on.
Blue cheese or ranch?
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese. Okay. So I heard that you would say that.
Yes.
Favorite sport besides football?
Favorite sport? Let's say.
Is it your?
I don't think drifting. Well, drifting is a sport, but it's like if we're talking about like Olympics sports, like Olympic, I'd probably say swimming.
Swimming?
Swimming
Okay.
is pretty cool.
Doesn't have to be Olympic. I thought you were going to go with baseball because of the Yankees hat.
Baseball is
I
cool.
know you're a Yankees fan.
Baseball is super dope.
Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, I've enjoyed a nice Jersey bagel,
A Jersey bagel. Okay.
a New Jersey bagel.
Favorite wing place since we're taking it back to Buffalo here.
Bar-Bill Tavern.
Okay, I
East
heard you were
Aurora.
going to say that.
Bar-Bill.
A fan told me you were going to say that. Favorite Buffalo tradition?
Favorite Buffalo tradition is probably jumping through tables
Jumping
on
through
game
tables.
day.
I'll have to learn
Yeah.
more about that one
And wearing
later.
the zebra striped pants.
Okay.
Which are called the
Favorite
Sumas.
way to relax or rest when you're not playing football?
Favorite way to relax? Well, I watch movies and I play music. I have a DJ set and I will DJ and play with the music.
Favorite movie?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh, Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay,
Yes.
all right. If you were not playing football, what career would you pick?
I will be a superstar movie actress.
Actor.
Actor.
unless you
No,
want to be
actor.
an actress.
I would be an
It's
actor.
2025.
Come on
You can be
now.
whoever you
I'll be a
want.
superstar movie actor. I would try my best, and I would be in movies, starring in movies with Johnny Depp.
Okay.
And Pirates of the
Oh,
Caribbean.
because this all brings it back to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh man.
Okay. And is there anything that that Google does not know about you, or Wikipedia, that you can share right now that will be, kind of a fun fact?
Fun fact about Dion is you would think, I don't know, if I were to ask you what is my favorite animal, you would say what?
A lion.
A duck.
A
My
duck?
favorite
I did
animal
not
is a duck.
expect that.
And I have ducks tattooed on my stomach, and I am a duck. I like ducks. I've been gifted a duck when I was a kid, and a stuffed animal duck, and ever since then, I found the love of ducks because they're very calm on the surface, and their feet are going extremely fast underneath, and I think that that's a beautiful thing that you can do that.
Okay, and final bonus question then. Favorite season? I think I know the
Ooh.
answer to this one.
Favorite season, like-
fall, winter, spring, summer.
Winter.
I figured
Winter
that.
Wonderland.
Yes, of course,
Yes.
because of snow.
Of the
There we
snow.
go.
Yes.
All right, we'll have to leave our conversation there. Thank you,
Yeah,
Dion.
appreciate you.
Our thanks to Dion Dawkins, aka Snow, for joining us for Market Overtime. And thank you so much for joining us for Market Overtime. That's it for this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to Schwab Network on YouTube, where you can find the entire Market Overtime library. I'm Diane King Hall. Thank you for watching.